Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast today, which is not your normal, regular scheduled episode. Of course, it is another one of our sort of crossover episodes, and this one has a different name. This one is What Topic is Too Crazy? So, we're bringing the crazy and the What Topic back together again. We're bringing the band back together again. And something I just wanted to put in a bit of a light on at the start here. This episode that we recorded actually was nearly 2 weeks ago now. During that time, I wasn't very well. That's Josh, by the way, who's speaking. I never mentioned my name there at the start, did I? I just wanted to make it clear that this episode is a few weeks old now. After being ill and work commitments just got really busy. So I just wanted to put that in the start there and say apologies for the delay of this. But here we are, and we hope that you enjoy the episode. See you in a bit. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We're podcasting again. And we've got a new name for the opposite side of the crossover episodes.
Still alive.
We're still alive.
Still alive.
It is What Topic is Too Crazy? The crossover episodes. And I'm joined by Owen and Julieta. Hello. Hello, beautiful people.
Hello, everyone.
We promise we won't get fucked up this time.
Yes, we've made a very strict rule that we're not allowed to drink excessively. I mean, I have no drink, so I'm clear in that rule.
I just have my tea tonight, so
good gal.
Very
good gal.
Unusual, I know. But
And I'm keeping to the one bottle of cider because I am going to the gym afterwards. So
good man. Good man.
I need to be somewhat responsible tonight.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. So, yeah, we are doing What Too Crazy instead of Too Crazy for What Topic. So this is basically kind of coming from the perspective of it's What Topic collaborating with Too Crazy. And we thought, well, it's quite a funny name. Owen actually came up with the opposite side name. So credit to the man himself. We're going to hopefully keep to structure in the episode. So we're going to kind of get started on a bit of an update. As Owen clearly said, we're still alive. We're still here. We've just been very busy hustling, new businesses, enjoying new tech and watching loads of films, and we've got so much to talk about, so we're just going to come straight and jump into it. Update on me, I'm pretty darn good at the minute. I think I'm just coasting at the minute in terms of, like, not bad coasting, but good coasting. I'm not worrying too much about photography at the minute, even though I am doing collaboration content with you tomorrow, Julieta. So, and I'm doing a show on Sunday, so this is actually really good because I'm doing podcast today, content with you tomorrow in Birmingham, and then on Sunday I'm doing a shoot in London. So I'm like, what? 3 different things are happening in one go. So
good.
Me saying I'm coasting sounds like an absolute understatement, really, doesn't it?
It's like, what? Who's this?
Well, the who dis? The who dis? So yeah, I guess maybe me saying I'm coasting was like a pre-Josh tense before we did anything today. But yeah, I'm feeling confident about getting back into my photography because in January I was supposed to start, and I kind of jumped into that, I think, a little bit over the episodes we did at the start of the year because that's how long it's been, really. It's been like 3 months since we properly done an episode, I think, or at least 2 months at most. And I'm feeling quite good at the minute.
Time flies by. I didn't even realise it was this long, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just when you said it now, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I mean,
Has time really flown by? Yeah.
When the context of what's going on in your life right now comes to light, I think it'll make a little bit more sense because you've been doing your things, like we've kind of paused doing anything ourselves on our Too Crazy podcast, and then me and Owen have been focused on other things as well without even realising it. It's like we've all kind of like broke away from the mold, and because we're all trying to get really creative again, we're all linking our paths, which is good. Not to get too into the physicals.
As well, so.
Well, that's it. Yeah, you've joined the
one. Also need to test it.
You're joining the wireless mic squad. That's the one.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, rate the gear. It's such great gear. Like, helps out Julieta with that recently. So, you know, I can't say very often that I'm able to provide that much information to another creator. So it makes me very happy to be able to help you out with that. And obviously, you'll speak about that very shortly. I think one of the reasons why I haven't been out doing shooting or making much content is I think I've kind of just thought about being a bit more present with friends. Not that I was never present with friends. Like, you guys will say, nah, you're talking shit. Like, I feel like in myself, like I was thinking about the next thing to do as opposed to not the next thing to just chill. And like, I'm trying to learn more about my time and the time I provide to others. So like, I could say, okay, I want to go out tomorrow and do this content because someone's asked me to do it. Do I actually feel like I want to do it, or should I say no and understand that being on the side of saying no is quite an important thing for my self-development? And I think I've maybe I've let that get a little bit too much on brain. Ended up going, okay, do I want to make content? What do I make content on? And then my brain is just content block, and I'm just completely like frazzed. I frazzle my brain by doing too many calculations. It's like Dexter's Laboratory from the old cartoon in my head going, and then I'll just blow up like absolute crazy. So can't have that. So me getting inspiration from a lot of different things recently, namely video games, giving me that inspiration to get creative and make content again. So I'm going to be talking about that very soon. I'm going to talk about, obviously these guys can see it. I don't know why I'm trying to show it to the camera. Talking about gaming and Delta Emulator. There's a little spicy bit for that. But yeah, that's a bit about me. I'm just basically in a bit of my own head rut at the minute, and I just need to get away from just being social, and I need to make more content and be social media content related, which I think then nicely moves on to who wants to go next? Julieta, Owen, who wants to go next?
I'll go next because I actually relate to this so much in regards to kind of timescales and making time for yourself as well, because things have been extremely crazy my end for the past couple of months, which I'm going to go into a little bit more details later anyway. But I feel like I'm in very similar position. So I'm not sure if you remember when we spoke on FaceTime the other day when you were helping me get my gear, choose on the gear. I said to you that I find it so hard to relax because everything has been constantly on a go for such a long time. I've actually, for the first time ever, have started to spend proper time with my family, which for me is still so strange. I know. I'm actually making improvements. It's crazy because
we stand that.
Yeah, it's still something so new to me. When you're used to working from, when the sun goes up to when it goes down, throughout the night, 7 days a week.
Exactly.
When you actually stop and you start, spending time with your family and doing things that you actually enjoy, it just feels so strange. I still have a little bit of guilt sometimes. So like, for example, yesterday I had a good reason to celebrate. I'm gonna talk about that later as well. But yesterday I had a reason to celebrate with Sebastian, and we popped a bottle of Prosecco. And this morning I went to a kind of like a networking event / training in Swindon, and in the morning, I felt so guilty for not working last night because I know I have, X amount of work to be done. But then I'm thinking, Yulita, you're working over the weekend because this week I'm working Saturday. Saturday I'm seeing you, we're creating content, and then I've got a job on Sunday. So I thought, you can't feel guilty for doing that because it's difficult, isn't it, when you kind of try to make that time for work plus at the same time make sure that you take care of yourself and actually make some time for you to relax. But I can definitely say I'm in so much better place now compared to like 2-3 months ago. I have done a lot of work. I've had a couple of hiccups. I've not been doing very well from beginning of this year, to be honest with you. It's been a very tough start of the year, but I'm much better now. So yeah, looking forward to what's going to happen next, because there's so many exciting things happening. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. In general, mood 10 out of 10. So that's good. That's update from me.
You know what? I think this is so important to do at the start of these episodes, like just to proper check in, like not just jump onto any like news out there in the world. Just the news is us, like because like people are invested in us as podcasters when they listen, like, and if we're just droning on the same things that other people could listen to, we're not really that real, am we? So I stand these things. I think they're very important. So speaking of importance,
100%.
moving on to Owen. So Owen, what's been happening with you, mate?
Oh man. So since January, I made a sort of conscious decision to basically get back to creating because I hadn't done any photo shoots for. So I only did one modeling gig back in January of 2023, and I only did one photo shoot as a photographer in April. And then since then, it was just a complete write-off just because I was doing bank work with healthcare. And then, the one department saying that they couldn't afford me, so I had to look elsewhere, which luckily I went elsewhere. But then I was getting through a very sort of existential sort of crisis that I was going, I didn't want to be here and this and that. And I was taking way longer breaks, like even to the point where I was instead of having 30 or 20-minute breaks, I would, most of the time just have an hour or an hour and a half breaks, which I'm clearly not supposed to have. And I think they got rid of me because of that. And it's just funny how they don't really go and talk to me, like saying, is there anything the matter? Is there a reason why you're taking so long breaks and blah, blah, blah? No, they just pretty much just got rid of me. I can't say for sure that is the reason, but it just seems like they didn't give me any more shifts. They were like saying, we need to figure out if we can afford you, blah, 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 but I didn't hear anything back. And then since I moved back to working in the lab now, I'm now working full-time now, which initially it was like a good thing because I'm thinking, okay, more financial stability and this and that. It has slowly and surely kind of basically made me go, going back to what the fuck am I doing here, essentially. And now it has made me take up, a more conscious decision to go, okay, I'm in this situation now. How can I make things better? Like, what is the first step? Can I make that into that pathway to being more happy? And I've now taken a 3-day course that is spread into 3 weeks, which obviously will kind of blend it in together with Yulita's, story that we'll go into later. So I've been doing a lot more shoots, photo shoots. So I did one back in January that I went to Bristol to. It turned out really well. Still continuing with my mobile photography, which some people still get surprised that it's shot on an iPhone. Well, obviously, plus with the filters and lenses and whatnot. But yeah, I just people ask me, how do I shoot? What do I shoot it with? And then I just tell them like, yeah, I shoot on an iPhone. I still occasionally get people get a little bit judgmental, and I'm just like, okay, fuck you, whatever. I don't need that. The only person the only people that really matters is that the ones who support it, because I have worked with with models that were quite surprised, because obviously when you hear like shooting on mobile phone, I do understand there is the sort of hesitation because they think they're just going to shoot on their mobile phone and they're just not going to do with it anything with the photos that they've shot it on. Because I've known people that shoot with actual DSLR or mirrorless cameras and they just don't do anything at all. It just looks very amateurish and everything. I just go, no, I actually do more with my photos. Like if I got an idea, I take the time to edit them and, just be more than just shot on an iPhone. And so, yeah, I'm just doing that. So I've got a few more. I got a shoot in May. And I'm going to be modeling again in May as well. Even the modeling, I'm not too, I'm not going to stress over about just because I just know that it's much more a female-centric industry. So, but therefore, if the opportunity presents itself, or I find a photographer is more than open and willing to shoot with me, then I go, cool, I can take that. But again, it's not my priority right now. So I've improved on that mindset now, because I used to stress it over, like, saying, how come I don't get that many photo shoot opportunities? And nowadays I'm just like, if it comes up, it comes up, whatever. So, and also the fact that I've been going to the gyms consistently since September, which has helped. And it just makes me look in the mirror and go, damn, I look good. So,
we rate that. Woo!
but no, seriously, like, when you start, because obviously within the first month or two, you do kind of think like, okay, what is the point? I'm not seeing anything. And I know the whole point is, I know it's very easy to say, it's not the destination that matters, it's the journey to get whatever. But
Exactly.
obviously it's so easy to fall into that, that trap, that going, well, I'm not seeing any changes, so what is the point? But obviously once you get to that third month onwards and you start seeing a difference, or at the very least people comment that they see a difference, then that really changes your perspective and going, okay, that gives you the extra confidence boost and the extra motivation to go, harder and keep going on it. I mean, despite the fact I keep forgetting and like, oh yeah, like go to the gym is a constant maintenance. It's like, owning a car. You don't just take it to an MOT and that's it. You don't need to get it checked up again. You need to constantly maintain it.
Yeah.
You treat going to the gym like you're looking after a kid. Like the kid is in danger if you don't go gym, basically, kind of thing.
I wouldn't go that far. It's like, if I don't go to the gym,
I'm trying to think of a metaphorical thing to say.
No, but it is essentially like, it is just constant maintenance. If you say to yourself, if you want to look this good, consistently, then you need to make the hard work consistently.
Yeah.
So
it's in the same vein that, like, if you want to lose weight, the best way to lose weight is to eat a little bit better, but also take training.
Weight.
Or gain weight, even, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. The thing is, that's the thing. I used to be 9.5 stone for the majority of my whole life. I used to, underweight to consider my age and height and everything, and and I gained a stone. I went up to 10 stone during lockdown just because I ate nothing but carbs. Sorry, I'm like talking way more than you guys have, but
no, it's fine. Go for it.
It's fine.
But then going from 10 stone, and I kept looking at I had a bit of a stomach. I was like, okay, I really need to sort this out. And I started, obviously, get to the third month. I started my stomach is getting a little bit more toned and more flat and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. I must have lost a bit of weight. Check myself. 11.5 stone, what the fuck? So I'm just like, how did I gain a stone and a half? But I keep forgetting, it's muscle mass. That's what it is.
Yeah.
When you know the difference between the two, then you start to feel a bit more happier about weight as a general rule.
No, for sure. I did see so I did take a photo back in September, and I did then recently did a sort of what they call a checkup. Photo,
a health check,
and there is like a huge, quite a bit of it. In terms of how my chest looks, my stomach, shoulders, and all that lot. And yeah, it is like, and I did a little fitness / topless shoot. I commented on my my lats, basically my back. When I started flexing, and then people were like, "Fuck, like you're big," and I'm just like, "Yeah, I've done the workout." So.
Honestly, it's the most it's the most validating thing when someone can see the what's going on. And you like, when I saw KSI with his boxing training, everything last year when he did his big open, I was like, fuck, that guy's really been killing it. And like, I could see what he was doing in what you're doing because I can see the muscle growth. I'm just like, Owen's smoking it.
Yeah, well, and now I'm not, because I'm training extra hard on my legs as well. I'm starting to see, like, when I start flexing it, I'm starting to see that as well. Because obviously when I started, I had nothing. That was it.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to see it. So I'm interested in what the next 3 or 6 months is going to look like. So, but that's the thing. I'm not interested to be a bodybuilder or a powerlifter, or I'm not up for a role that requires for me to be, or anything, because that requires, was really restricting my diet, and that's not what I'm interested in. So I'm still obviously going to keep tabs on like eating more healthy, but I'm not going to restrict myself to the occasional, junk food and whatnot. Just because, I just want to be happy. And again, that's why I'm not competing, or I'm not doing anything that is required for me to do. I'm not required to do anything like that. So it's like, what's the point, And it's like the same thing with having a 6-pack. I technically do have a 6-pack. They're just more functional 6-pack. And anyways.
It's more functional than tone. Yeah.
That's it. So, and plus, who the fuck is going to see that? Apart who else is going to see that? You know what I mean? True. I don't have a partner, so no. But that's what I mean. Like, when people think about I need to get a 6-pack, you need to think about it like in long term rather than short term. I mean, if you just want to have a summer bod for the 3-4 months or whatever it is, okay, I guess. But outside of that, it's just I just don't see the point of it.
Fair play, man. Honestly, we're killing it here by being as real as we can be, and I think that's something that a lot of, not even just in terms of like social media, but I think in podcasting alone, that's one of the things that I like about podcasting. Like, obviously musicians are very vocal about their past and like where they are in their life with their music stuff. Taylor Swift is doing that at the minute, obviously. I haven't listened to it, but I know that that's the conversations about what she's been talking about.
Billie Eilish, music.
Billie Eilish as well, obviously coming out. I guess she's kind of come out as LGBT. I mean,
I think she
we'll cover that a bit more, I think, when we talk about mental health, because I think coming out month is, this LGBT month is in June, so that's the month after Mental Health Month, and that's something that we want to touch on at the end of the episode, so we can go a bit more in depth with it. But yeah, great job, guys. Honestly, like we kicked that smashed that out of the ballpark. I can't get my words out.
Let's keep it going.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about, as we were saying, like about motivation and like making progress. So someone who's made some absolutely massive progress is a very lovely lady here, Julieta. What's going on with the business side of your life? And obviously that'll roll into what Owen was talking about with his own self-development in business.
Yeah, what's up? What's going on, Queen?
Let me grab my tea.
Let's drop that tea.
I got the teapot. So,
for those who don't know, what was your previous venture before? And obviously, in that, obviously, talk what you can talk.
Yeah, so because it's a little bit of a sticky and messy subject still, so there is only so much that I can say at this stage, but
within
I'll
legal reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll try to be as clear as possible to kind of give you an idea of what was going on. So some of you may already know, the listeners, of course. I've been managing a sunbed supplier company for the past 4 years of my life, and there's been some things that happened, and I just knew that it was time for me to simply move on and go my own direction. I absolutely love the job, and anyone that knows me a little bit closer knows that I honestly, genuinely love this job with all of my heart. I was all the time talking about my job. I was, brainstorming different ideas, what we can implement, how we can maximize business potential, because business has always actually been something that I really enjoyed doing. From a very young age, things like brainstorming about, maximizing things, and sorry, because my phone's ringing. Let me just put it on airplane mode. Sorry, guys. So business has always been a huge passion of mine. I love the job. I love the clients. It was one of the hardest decisions that I had to make throughout my whole life. Unfortunately, not everyone accepted that decision and took it very well. So So yeah, it's been, again, because of legal reasons, I can't really go into too much depth of what's happened within the company upon my leave. But I've just been accused of very bad things, and people were trying to ruin my reputation very badly. Some people were trying to affect my current business. And yeah, I was in a really bad place, because despite the fact I was leaving the company quite motivated, because I felt like it was a perfect time for me to actually separate and
make a clean break,
do my own thing. Exactly. I wanted to kind of, spread my wings, and I was motivated to kind of go all in. But then all that happened on the way, and I just felt so shit. I was going.
It feels like going off the cliff, doesn't it? And you even though you feel like you might have an idea, you're not fully confident in that idea still, even if you feel like you should be.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that people were spreading lies about me and accusing me of awful things that I would never ever.
It just seems like very high school mentality. Like they're just spreading shit. They're just spreading shit for just absolutely no reason. Yeah.
Absolute shithousery.
Yeah, I think the reason why they've done this is because they knew that I would do well, because they know I'm business orientated. I have great work ethic, and I'm
got business acumen, as people would call it.
Exactly. So I think maybe they've done it because they were a little bit.
They saw you as competition.
I'm just speculating, okay?
No. We're speculating too. That's what is coming across from what I'm hearing from your story. Is they heard you're leaving, and they just want to go. Oh well, how are we going to deal with this situation? Because
our biggest is deciding that they want to go separate. Yeah, we can't let that happen.
And then it's like, well, how could we take this? How could we deal with this? I'm like, well, I know. Let's spread all these lies about her, discredit her, and discourage her from making these pursuits. And that's what they're trying to do.
The craziest part is like they don't aim that much from that really, because even if you didn't start your business, like you wouldn't be going back to them. Like there's no reason for them to do it, because like the only way that they would have to sort of make it work is that you'd be discouraged to leave and then come back. But who in their right mind would be that dumb? You got to have a 0 IQ to do that, right?
Well, they made an easy decision for you to leave in an easy terms. So
yeah, I mean, it affected my business in some ways, because some people have believed certain statements. Some people didn't want to get involved, and I even had a couple of clients messaging me and confronting me about it. If someone knows me at least a little bit, they know I wouldn't do such thing.
Exactly.
So some businesses said, nothing against you, but we kind of don't want to get involved in drama. And I completely understand, because no business wants to get involved in drama, because it's reputation.
That's the last thing you should be included in a business, because a business is there to make money, and it's not there to play, sword and shield and shit, Well,
they don't want to be in the middle of, like, not to say that you're not telling the truth or anything, but to them it's a more like a he said she said situation, and they don't want to be a part of that.
Hearsay is not important in a business.
You have to keep it professional as well, and being involved in drama is not professional by any means. So, yeah, I've lost a couple of clients, which meant loss of quite a bit of earnings as well, which I thought I had secured to start with. So that was kind of the first challenge I've had on a way. But I've managed to get different clients, gain different clients. So, it's it wasn't too bad. It just was a massive roller coaster. And again, I unfortunately have been forced to take it legal, because it got really, really bad. So
nobody should be having that happen to them. No, like any business shouldn't have it. They shouldn't have it on, their agenda to do this, that, and the other.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but we are in end of April now, and things are looking much more positive. In February, beginning of February, when I officially left, I was going through a hard time because at one point I thought I was getting really anxious and stressed out that many people will, believe, but then I've realized that a lot of people are contacting me asking about, my side of the situation. A lot of people were really supportive, and I've managed to gain some new clients. So I kind of pushed through, and I'm actually doing really, really well now. And I feel like I've made the best decision ever. Sometimes some people say it's easier to have a business partner because then you can always have someone to rely on.
Just give that support and that push, that motivation. Yeah.
Because honestly,
However,
businesses like self-employed businesses really thrive mainly on word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And if your word of mouth is being tainted, you're only going to find business through online, and then they're going to have a large time. They're going to have a big proportion of their time standing if they're working with the right business, and
this is the thing. Like, even you yourself know that what you're saying is the absolute truth. It's still up to the other person whether or not they're going to believe your word or not, and that's more frustrating.
Exactly.
And they was wanting to basically suppress you doing that. So if they was able to stop your word of mouth, the gift of the gab kind of thing, being your biggest asset, if that's gone, your business is going to flatline for a good while, if not go completely gone.
And the worst case scenario you have to do is, unfortunately, you're going to have to start a new, not the same business, but a new business. It's a huge another thing that you have to do. That hopefully, it seems like you won't have to go through that route. But that's like the worst case scenario. You have to restart all over again, hoping they don't make the connection that's your new business. So I
think it would generally put Julieta out of the tanning business if she was not able to continue. I think she'd have to completely change to another industry, which would be career suicide, which you don't want to do.
That would be a huge shitty.
No, because honestly, I just love the industry so much, and
it would crumble you.
When actors get told, saying, "Yo, what other profession would you see yourself doing elsewhere?" Do you only see yourself doing tanning, basically?
Yeah, 100%. So, not only tanning, as in because I do a bit of social media management on the side as well. However,
but obviously that comes part of it, but still, yeah. But I wouldn't see myself doing anything else. I just genuinely love the industry so much, and I have so much knowledge within the industry as well. So, I still wanted to keep things fair, and I'm not causing them any competition whatsoever.
Well, you're not trying to compete with them,
thing. No. What I offer is nothing that they offer. So it's a completely kind of new product, let's just put it that way, but within the same industry. So I'm not a competitor by any means.
It's the sad way in a capitalist world is everything is a competition, which is very frustrating, especially with creatives, that we just want to support each other, but unfortunately there are going to be people, or certain groups of people, that will see you as a sort of threat, and it's just sad how it.
As humans, it's coded into our DNA to always be worried about potential threat to each other, and that goes back to being when we were Neanderthals. Literally, like protecting one's family or protecting one's livelihood. Like even if it's like defending like a bit of food from another group of, handholes. Like so that's instilled through that into our current state now, where like if someone hates your opinion or hates what you're doing, that attacks them. That's the modern day equivalent, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, but to be honest with you, running the business on my own now has been a massive relief because, you know, I can do everything on my own terms. I can implement ideas on my own terms. And, you know, when you're running a business with other people, sometimes it tends to get difficult when you have different perspectives. So especially when you have different business approach and different focus in mind. So yeah, I've been very, very relieved recently, and I'm just so excited and so happy and in such a good energy, really looking positive at everything that's happening. I've managed to rebuild my training program from scratch. So it's like everything now within one program, in depth, all things about opening a tanning salon or maximizing profits in existing tanning salons. And yeah, the first training I've done was actually in London this month. And it was the most stressful experience ever. I've done so many trainings in my career. It's unbelievable. And I never, ever have been so stressed before. But I think it's the fact that it's been run, you know, in a different location. And it's like my very first, very own training.
You've not got anyone else to answer to but yourself, because you're the boss, effectively. So
yeah.
When you was working for the other company, you was effectively working on behalf of those guys. So like, because you were at the time, you were really good with them. You're like, okay, they don't provide me any stress, I don't provide them any stress, that's fine. But then when it's all on you, that stress comes out of you, back into you. You're doubling, if not frequently pushing the stress out. And like, yeah, you might be having a good time running your own business. You feel like, okay, there's so much more flexibility here. My hands aren't tied in any situation other than ones that are affecting me, myself, or I'm putting them on myself. So when that stress comes out back into you, which doubles it. It puts you on such a threat level. So like, obviously you were going to brick it more with this, and that makes logical sense to me.
100%. But also the other aspects, you know, organizing the spaces, so making sure in London there is so many different things next to each other. You know, people were struggling to actually find the venue, so I had to run out. But then at the same time, you have to make sure you start setting up your presentation and everything. You want to make sure that you know, the trainees have something to drink, so you're just like running around like crazy. But it was definitely so worth it. And let me tell you, as soon as I started the presentation, all stress just left me completely. I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. You know,
you got this, queen.
So good. Yeah, it was just next level of satisfaction. I was so happy after the training, and straight away I was so ready to start the next one. And
using your elements.
I always had. I know this is going to sound so strange, but I've always had a feeling that I am going to be successful on my own. It's just been always a very scary decision to make. Because we, you know, it's it is.
There's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
It's like you could relate it. It's like when you no longer rely on your parents and you leave home. It's like that situation. Like you move in to a house on your own or to a flat with a friend, and that dynamic changes because effectively, like the people you worked with before were like your extended family in a way, as you put it yourself, actually, in your own words before. So when you've cut that umbilical cord, in a sort of way, you could say it's an umbilical cord, and it's even more bad because, like, obviously how it got cut, like you've crashed out, but like not necessarily crashed out in the same way that other situations would happen. You've moved out of it, but it still felt like a crash out because of the situation that's blown out at the other company. So that stress is going to constantly like worry you, even if you feel like you were flowing good in your session. Like you're thinking of, okay, am I getting this right? Am I saying the next thing right? When's break? Toilets? Where's everything? Just because you've got so much going on in here, it's like normally spread out over other people. Obviously, I know you had Steve there, and then I think somebody else helping you out as well. But you still feel like, okay, I need to take ownership. This is my baby. Like, even if they're helping you, you're still stressing at like 120 miles per hour, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. But by the way, Steve, if you're listening, thank you so much for attending once again, because that actually helped me so much to like.
Steve's lovely. I love Steve.
Oh, Steve is great. But
he's an absolute key.
It was a good day. I obviously started advertising and organising the next training day straight after, because I felt like, this is my purpose. I was literally born to do this.
Keep going off the buzz of the original one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're only going to go up from there. You are now, because your next event will no doubt be better than the last event. It's progression.
100%.
It's got to happen.
Every event will be better, and as I kind of grow, I have more funds to reinvest into the business. So like this time, the location is going to be nicer. The buffet will be nicer. I also will have like proper workbooks for the trainings, which I'm working on at the moment. And I just have so many ideas. I'm just like so happy and glad that I decided to take that risk and actually freaking do it.
You grabbed the opportunity by the horns, you did, because no one else was going to do that but you.
Exactly.
The thing is, your first event is always your first event's always going to be a bit janky, because like not everything is like going to be you'll want it to be polished, but no one's ever going to have a first session that's polished. But the whole premise of that session is, if you was able to deliver training and those people who came was able to take that on with them and go from there, it doesn't matter whether you've got all the right branding correct. Like, as long as the message is there, like, people will come. Yeah. Right. The message is important.
And one last thing that I want to share is the reason why I was celebrating with Sebastian yesterday was because I received a very exciting email which stated that my training is now CPD certified. So I'm a certified CPD provider. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So that's such a massive help, and that shows credibility, that shows expertise in actually providing the training. So I'm just so happy about this, and being able to use the certification number on the certificates as well. It's not just going to be like a piece of paper now. It's going to be
it's
something
accredited,
a little bit bigger. So exactly. So yeah, just so happy about this, and super excited for what's next. I've got a lot of ideas and plans. Some things in the process, some things I don't want to necessarily talk about again at this stage, because I tend to keep things to myself until something is done.
Something's happened.
Because I find sometimes outside energy.
You jinx it, yeah.
So I'd rather have everything confirmed than share. I think I've learned that the hard way. People can't.
I think we all have.
What they don't know.
That's it. So, work on the fact that like you can take it to 100% before you don't want to go past 50% and go, okay, this feels good, because 50% and whatever after it. If you're close,
you don't want to be like saying like, oh, I'm going to try to do this to see how it goes, and then you just go, it didn't work out. So
because the thing is, everyone likes to like share the process, but at the same time, like, some things are better waited until they are finalized. It makes more sense. Yeah. It's humans have it as again coded into DNA to be completionists. Like, we want to like prove that we can do something without any other people telling us that we need to be able to do this. Because if we can self-validate ourselves and have the motivation and the mindset, then everything else will come with it.
Exactly. But I'm not saying it's not challenging because
Exactly,
I'm
yeah.
like birth with
Nothing
excitement.
in life is easy, because
Nothing,
otherwise, if
you
it
get
was
nothing in life
easy,
for
then
free.
everyone would be doing it.
Exactly, you get nothing in life for free, and you don't get anything that you don't put into something. You know, what you put in is what
It's
you
kind
get
of
back
like,
out.
you know, it's kind of like, where's the reward if you didn't? Yeah,
No risk, no reward.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the thing. Like,
In
it comes
Poland,
with every industry.
in Poland, we say, kto nie ryzykuje, ten nie pije szampana, which means who doesn't take the risk won't drink the champagne.
That's true. You can't celebrate if you have nothing to celebrate.
I mean, you could get the cheap shit, but then that's still what.
Ruining the
But then again,
analogy!
that's the thing. Like, if you buy the cheap shit, that basically says like what your ambitions are.
That's
The more
true.
better-
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
If you're only having a cider, you're not really celebrating, am you? Champagne is the drink of champions.
I've
It's
tasted cheap
indeed.
champagne, and it is garbage. So, yeah. Aim higher. That's what I say.
We are so happy for you, Julieta. Honestly, like the fact that you've been able to
Thank
take
you.
your own business in your own hands. You know, you've grabbed the horns.
You took it by
of
the balls. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is,
it's
that is
been-
no easy thing.
Oh, 100%. And I know it's going to be so wet. Like, with the amount of things that I want to implement, the only thing I'm thinking about now is, shit, Yulita, where are you going to be in 12 months' time? Like, you know, there is just
But
so
don't let
much
that
potential,
pressure.
so much opportunity.
Anything can happen
Yeah.
in 3, 6, you know, how many months' time. So
Don't
you just
let
have
that
to-
pressure mount on you though. That's the thing. Like going back to what I said to you a lot long ago. Like just because
enjoy
you're
the
taking on that.
process.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that I have to say. Like I don't really rate the TV show The Apprentice these days, but they always say trust the process. They always say the UK for people who are in other countries, the UK edition that with Alan Sugar I'm referring to. They always say on there, trust the process, because if you don't trust the process, who else is like? You can have other people be echo chambers for you, but at the end of the day, if you're not trusting yourself, you ain't gonna do it. Like if someone says to you to do a bungee jump, if you don't push yourself to go, you're not gonna go. You know. At the end of the day, you are your own big support. You're your own support machine. Like the reason why people don't do skydives all the time is because people don't believe in themselves that they know they're going to be safe. Like, right? You got to take a risk. Risk, no reward.
I mean, I've done bungee jumping twice and skydiving once, so got no excuse there. So
There you go. You know exactly the feeling then that I'm describing.
I'm trying to be Tom Cruise, okay? So,
He's following that actor lifestyle.
next thing you know, like Owen is hanging on the side of the plane. Owen, what are you doing? Get off!
What the fuck? He's trying to be another Tom Cruise. Fuck's sake.
Well, excuse me for dreaming.
But you know what? That actually works very nicely because we can now sort of swiftly move on to Owen with you talking about you want to talk about some movies that you've been seeing recently and also your upcoming project, right? So
Yes.
go for it.
So I'm gonna do sort of a sort of quick fire sort of movie reviews because I have watched as being a cinephile as I am, I watch a shit ton of movies. So
It's part of your life. There's no denying it.
it really is. Like, you know, my DNA is a film reel, so that's what it is.
It's a labour of love.
Yeah. So I mean, I've seen all kinds of things. I mean, the biggest one is Dune Part 2. And that's mainly because obviously I really loved the first one, and I love filmmaker Denis Villeneuve. I mean he's a great filmmaker. Like, I mean, he's a director who's done films like Prisoners, which for some reason everyone like just brought it up like back in popularity on Netflix. I think it was Netflix. I think. Yeah, it was like for some reason on my Instagram feed, it was like saying everyone has been talking about Prisoners, and I'm just like, really? Like, okay.
My mom used to watch it so much when I was little. Oh God, I remember because we had it translated into Polish every single evening. Yeah.
I
So that's
rewatched it.
one series that I remember from my childhood. You know, like not keeping up with films as such on like daily basis, but that's one series that I do recognize very well.
Well, it's just like I remember watching it in the cinema, and then again I rewatched it because I was like, I don't remember watching it, but I'm like, I didn't think it was all that good, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so much better than I thought it was.
It's like previous Owen and now Owen like think very differently.
A little bit, yeah. And then it was like, and then obviously he's done like Sicario and Arrival, and and of course he did Blade Runner 2049, and then he did the Dune films, and now he's been, because of the success of this of Dune Part 2, he's meant to do an adaptation of the second book, Dune Messiah. I don't know if he's going to call it Dune Part 3, but or Dune whatever. No, but the film really is excellent. Like, I don't know, John, have you seen it? Because I know you've seen Part 1.
Yeah, this is the thing with me. Sweet, I really just seem to not get to the cinema in time. Like, people are like, but you've got like a month and a bit or something. I'm like, yeah, I need a friend to watch it with. I don't know if I really want to go watch a film that long in the cinema on my own. I'll be honest. Like, if it's like an hour and
2 hours and
half,
46
fair.
minutes. Yeah.
I think once it's affordable to rent, I think I'll have to rent it. Like, I want to see it in the cinema, but if the trend of movies coming back every few years at the cinema happens, maybe I might be feeling better about going to see it in the cinema at some point.
Yeah, that is true. They do seem to do like re-releases. Like, they just done like the 30th anniversary of Speed. I was like, oh shit, like, has it been that long? They did a 30th anniversary of Interview with the Vampire, the 25th anniversary of Fight Club. So, like...
First rule about Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club, yeah!
yeah, boy! How rebellious I am, boy! Fuck the system, boy!
And then you got Interstellar in the next few months, actually.
Yeah, 10 years.
November or something.
Man, I still remember seeing Interstellar in a cinema in Wellington in New Zealand, and the sound system was like...
I remember seeing it 50mm, I think it was 50 or 55mm in the IMAX. Honestly, like
the IMAX. Yeah.
Top level of film snobbery when I was seeing it in that, I was just like, it's like going in first class on a plane. You can't go back. You just can't go back to standard.
Well, the thing is with films like with Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, like they really are like pioneers of the cinematic experience. Like, I went to see Dune Part 2 first time in a regular cinema, because obviously just in case of the sound system in the IMAX was going to be overblaring, so I want to watch it to just kind of see the story and everything, and then go see an IMAX to see the full spectacle. And Jesus Christ, the spectacle, like with the sound, Hans Zimmer's score, and just the visuals alone, like it was just mind-blowing. It's just the fact that how they shot with the scenes with on Giddy Prime, the Arcadians home planet, where everything so it's kind of like anything in the shadows, like indoors, like it's shot on regular film, but when they come out into the sunlight, the black sun, it's shot in infrared.
Wow.
So it's really weird. Like they see characters like they like in a stadium, there's a little balconies and whatnot, so there's like a bit in the shadows, they're walking, and as soon as they're coming into the sunlight, it blends into like they shot in infrared.
Wow.
So it was a very sort of very interesting way they've shot it, and it was just like, yeah, again, it was just really mind-blowing. But Dune Part 2, it is a great film. Like, some people may think it was a bit overrated or it's a bit too hyped up, or whatever. I don't give a shit.
I think the box office numbers speak. That's it.
What's that? Sorry.
You approve.
Yeah, my stamp of approval.
Honestly, I think the box office records have to speak for it, because it's performed so well.
Oh yeah, it's nearly made $1 billion. Like,
it's up there in the top. It's definitely up there already in the top 10 all time, isn't it?
I don't know currently what is the top highest grossing.
Because I'm sure that like Skyfall is still hovering. Skyfall 007 is roughly around 5 or 6, I think, in the all time. Because I know Avatar's up at the top.
No, Skyfall, it won't be anywhere that.
Has it actually dropped now?
I mean, there's been a number of films since 2012, so
that's true. Yeah.
So so I've seen that. So Dune Part 2, another great film I watched recently that was always on my radar because I love the film. Again, the filmmaker was Civil War, and it was written directed by Alex Garland. Like, if you don't know who Alex Garland is, you may have heard of him. Like, he wrote the script for 28 Days Later.
Oh yeah.
He wrote Sunshine with Cillian Murphy and Chris Evans. That was a great sci-fi. And then he got into directing with Ex Machina,
that
Annihilation,
mad.
and then Annihilation on Netflix. And then he did a film called Men with Jessie Buckley, and then now, and this is his last. He said that this will be his last film as a. So. And he's going to be involved with a 28 Year film that's going to come out soon, which they've now just announced the cast. Yeah, with Ray Fiennes, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and a female actor.
I'm sure it's Jodie Comer.
Yes, Jodie Comer.
I have to say this: if that's the case, Jodie. Honestly, this film is a bliss, man. Because if you know who Jodie Comer is, I'm not going to go into too much talking about her, but she is like one of the best actors of our time at the minute. I'm genuinely
She's
serious.
great. Yeah, like I'm a huge fan of just all three of them, actually.
It's such a perfect mix.
And the fact that they're coming back with that franchise. I've actually just recently watched 20 Weeks Later, which is actually not too bad sequel. I mean, it's still not as good as the first one, but it's actually a still pretty solid one.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Is it still being directed by... I've got the names escaping me.
Danny Boyle.
Is it going to be directed by Danny Boyle, the new one? Do you know?
I heard it is, but then I heard that Nia DaCosta is going to do it, but I don't know. It hasn't been. I guess
it in the hot seat, or he's helping alongside. Maybe.
He's in talks, or at the very least, he's going to be the executive producer on it. So
because the thing is, Danny Boyle is like he's so iconic. I mean, Trainspotting, and then
Shallow Grave,
the Olympic Games performance.
127 hours. And then to the Trainspotting sequel. So
Trainspotting is just like ingrained into British culture. It is.
It literally is. When you talk about British cinema, like Trainspotting is without a doubt always on that list. You know, even though it's very weird, it's like we talk about British cinema, but it's very Scottish. It's it's directed by a Mancunian, and it's just really weird, but it's great. No, it really is, and I always actually got one of my American friends to watch it, and they had to put it on subtitles, but the Scottish accent was a bit too strong for them.
Oh yeah, the Scottish accent definitely gets a bad rap, but like it's obviously like the way it is.
It's funny because obviously because the thing is, you can tell which ones are very easily to understand because they're from Edinburgh or at least close to it.
Yeah,
and then you got the other ones they're from Glasgow, so they're much harder to understand.
Well, that's the thing. Like you got your David Tennant, who's pretty easygoing. You've got oh god, what's his name?
I mean, everyone talk. I mean, outside of, everyone. When you talk about Scotland, they always talk about I'm from Scotland, like Sean Connery.
Yeah,
even though it's like
how you today. What's the name? Peter Capaldi. Like he's a really well-known Scottish actor as well.
So good. I just think like his character as Malcolm Tucker in the Thick of It and all that.
Oh man, Lilith, have you ever watched The Thick of It? Oh, if there's one British TV show you've got to watch, it's got to be The Thick of It.
There's one that is so. There's a bit in the spin-off movie called In the Loop, and there's a character he talks to he's an American. I don't know, he's a politician or whatever, but he doesn't like swear words. So when he wants to swear, he goes, "I think you're a piece of S star T." So when. Malcolm Tucker, Peter Capaldi's character, he goes, "You know what? You are boring fuck. I mean, you really are boring fuck. Sorry. I know you disapprove of swearing, so let me readjust that. You're a boring F star hunt," and then just walks off. And I was like, if he was a spirit animal, he would be my spirit animal. It's
funny because legitimately, like before he became the Doctor in Doctor Who, I could not see a path where he arrived at being the Doctor, because every time I think of Peter Capaldi, I kept on thinking of The Thick of It with his character just being such a potty mouth. Like
it's
like one of the British things to say.
As soon as he was cast, somebody on YouTube edited footage with Doctor Who, with his character in.
Yeah, I remember watching that. We're going to send you this video after you later because we want you to be clued on who Peter is.
I have no idea, and I have no like English TV as well, so it makes it a little bit difficult.
Honestly,
time travel? What?
On a surface level, this guy, like, he is like really good at being serious, being calculated, being like just an accompaniment of so many different like emotions and rolling through so many different like scenarios. Like he's like 5 or 6 different actors in one, like same like David Tennant is. Like there's so many dimensions to him that like there's a new one that you haven't found
people
later
don't realize people don't realize Peter Capaldi is an Oscar winner.
Exactly, yeah. I wouldn't have known that without knowing what I know.
He won Best Original Short Film.
Yeah, that's right.
Which he got presented. Yeah, so and it was kind of funny because what was it? I don't know what happened. Who were the big winners that year? I can't remember. But it was like, you know, everyone's thinking about all the other ones that won whatever categories, and then he comes out because at the time nobody knew who Peter Capaldi was. He's done a few bits and pieces, but he wins this Oscar for Best Original, and so he goes back to get asked these questions. Like, any questions from me? No, okay, all right.
That's the thing, really. Like,
but to be fair, I'm kind of guilty because every time I do watch the Oscars every year, when it gets to like short documentary or short film, I'm like, I have not seen any of, so I'm gonna just guess that one's gonna win. No shit. Okay.
Yeah, so, you really are playing Guess Who at that point, aren't you? Yeah. But legitimately, I love like the thing that really helps the most with like actors in like at least in the British scene, like because I'll be honest, like without going into too much of a tangent, the American scene is so mad with the amount of actors there are. That like there's so much comedy shows, there's so much different shows like Arrested Development, like all the different sitcom shows. You've like even like as far back as like Jerry Seinfeld. But like when you look at like British comedy and British drama, etc., you got Peter Capaldi straddling 2 different types. Like in the thick of it, it's a he's absolutely hilarious. He's funny, and then when he's in something as recent as there's an Apple TV Plus show called Criminal Record.
That's it. Yeah,
that show. Chef's fucking kiss. Like. Julieta, if you like gritty, dark, like drama shows, like with like a very sort of like cutthroat sort of style, you will like it because like it really like sets the scene for me. Though, like if there's any sort of show you got to start.
I definitely need to start like watching more films and shows and series in general because
I can help with that.
So behind. I'm so behind. But yeah, now as I'm managing my own schedule, taking notes all the time.
Mate,
but honestly, guys, I really need your help.
Me and Owen will make a mental note to tell you some stuff to watch after this. Definitely.
But I mean, the other ones I've seen that were like, they're okay. The first Omen, not as bad as I thought because obviously The Omen is an absolute classic 70s classic of horror. It's actually not bad. It's surprisingly not a bad prequel. I mean, the only thing I would say it takes away from it is like it's still an unnecessary prequel to a film that didn't need one. And then there was the other one that it seems to be like religious horror seems to be a huge thing now. With with Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney, I thought that was a bit boring. I just they thought like that. I kept seeing people saying on Twitter or was it a review saying like the ending is going to be the most brutal, shocking thing you ever seen, and I just watched it and went okay. So I mean, the thing is, I won't take away the fact that as gorgeous as Sydney Sweeney is, she's still incredibly talented, and I appreciate that she is not, if somebody is not afraid to get her hands dirty. I mean, the fact is that she grew prominence with the TV show Euphoria, which deals with, you know, teenage anxiety, drug use.
That's a show that you'd have to watch, definitely, Julieta. I need to watch it myself
Well,
still, but I know how mad
what
it is.
are you trying to say? You're trying to say anything?
I'm trying to say that it's a show that I recommend.
Okay.
I've been recommending it to myself, but I still haven't got around to watching it. That's what I'm saying.
It's a great series. I mean, the thing is, every time each episode ends, I just go, thank fuck I'm not a teenager anymore, because I felt that with like Mr. Robot or like Severance. Those two shows like leave you feeling like it felt like you've just been thrown to the curb at the end of the episode. Like, what the fuck just happened? You know. It's for me, it's just teenage drama, and I'm just like, thank fuck I'm not a teenager anymore. I can't be dealing with that shit.
Yeah,
but then again, I'm
nearly 30 myself, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck that shit. Leave it for the shows.
Yeah, I recently turned 36, and people still get shocked how. No, the other ones that I thought that were just absolute was what was it? Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire.
Fuck that! I didn't even bother it. I didn't bother watching it. I've stopped watching all those films.
I was kind of bored. I was like, you know what? I need to make use of the paying the elderly and limitless membership I have to put. So I was like, okay, what is there to watch? Okay, that's on. I'm like, okay, when's it showing? 12 midday. Okay, that's fine. Whatever, I'll watch it. The monster fights were fun. I will give it that. And it was kind of cool to see scenes of Kong doing stuff without any dialogue, that you can still see, you know, characters, you know, or just, you know, even it's just digital characters doing emotions or just doing things without, you know, any dialogue. I appreciated that. And
you knew what was going on without needing the dialogue. Yeah,
it was like, you know, he realizes that there's a threat, or he's realizing that something has changed, and he's seeing the expression and whatnot, and it was just cool when it did that. And then every time it cut, and then I wouldn't say realistic, but there's just like because obviously film is a visual medium. But I would say that. The problem was, every time it cut to human characters, they have to dub exposition because they think us audiences are a bunch of idiots that we can't tell what is going on. And it was like by the time like it got near the end and it was explaining what the villain's, you know, motivations is doing, I literally said to myself under my breath, despite the fact there were probably kids in front of me, next to me, and behind me, I went, "Shut the fuck up." Like, seriously. And
you're just there like face like, why the fuck are they so stupid in this
seriously,
film?
And like when the character would just like talk and stuff, that obviously we could always see what's going on, or we could connect the dots that what is going on, but she just
there was no need for that.
I was just like, oh my god,
too much information, bro.
Painful. It's like it was full, and you know, I enjoyed the previous ones. They're not amazing anything, but obviously you came here from the monster fights and whatnot, and they delivered
with the humans.
And you got this movie that's 2 hours, and you probably only got maybe 15, 20 minutes max out of like monsters fighting, and you have to get through all the bullshit to get to those scenes. Nah.
Honestly, I think films that like literally like fluff out so much shit, like, and this is the reason why trailers are so like you should only trust it with a very, very long barge pole, because the trailer shows off the stuff you've seen, and then you get to the film.
Speaking of trailers, there's actually one movie I actually really enjoyed, but I said to people, whatever you do not watch the trailer. It spoils it. There's a film called Abigail.
Oh my god! Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, the only thing I would say is don't read the description. Don't watch the trailers. Just go see it.
Just know it's a horror film, and that's it.
That's it. It's a horror film, and that's it. That's all you need to know. If you watch the trailer, it'll get spoiled, and yeah.
Oh, that's so lame, though. That's so lame, because
Because
A
the
lot
thing
of
is,
people-
what they did was they kind of when they get trapped. So I will say the most basic ones. They kidnap this girl, and they're tasked to look after her for about 24 hours, but they get trapped, and then one of them is getting picked off one by one, and they figure out who it is, and that's what happens in the movie. But in the trailers, they show who the monster is.
They ruin it, yeah.
So it's just kind of like, oh, but then because in the movie they're trying to put this mystery, like say like who's killing each other off, and we're like, well, I've seen the trailer, so I know who it is.
And that's the point that ruins horror films for me. Like, there are so many people who like they're not so much scared of horror films. They're just like, there's no horror film that's actually scary anymore because like it's like small little jump scare here, small little jump scare there. Okay, that's it. We're done with the day. Like, you know. Anything
Thank
before
you for later.
You know, like take it back to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like that film's fucking freaky from start to finish. There's not many films like that anymore. There really ain't.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting in. Speaking of, well, today, funny enough, so talking about movie related. Today is actually Alien Day because it's reference to LV426. So 4 being April and 26 being the day. So. But because of that, we're getting an Alien movie later on this year. Alien Romulus, from the director of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, and I'm quite excited for that because it's not being directed by Ridley Scott, because the last 2 Ridley Scott directed Alien films were either just a bit it's all right to no.
Ridley Scott ain't it now anymore. I'll be honest.
Yeah, they're not. So when I saw the teaser trailer for Alien Romulus, seeing what the facehuggers look like and the xenomorphs and all that, that's fine because we've seen them since 1979 when the first one came out. So it's kind of like, so that instance is like, that's fine, but it was still a teaser, like, because I was like, I still don't know what the story is, what the situation is. All I know is that there's a bunch of people in a spaceship, they get killed off by this xenomorph, and that's all I know.
The premise is too easy.
And so I've seen about others. Another great film that probably got under people's radar was a film called Night with the Devil, and I highly recommend it. It's probably on Shudder right now because it is a Shudder production. But yeah, definitely check out the trailer because that was one of the few films that didn't show much. Even if it did, you still didn't understand what was going on. So there's been actually pretty decent films I've seen so far. I'm going to be watching Challenges tomorrow, which I'm quite excited with Zendaya. What else is there? I'm gonna be watching. Yeah. Let me just see. So I'm going to be Challenges. I'm going to see The Fall Guy, which looks fun. And then obviously Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I've been interested with the Planet of the Apes, the recent ones with Andy Serkis, Alien Romulus, and there's probably a bunch of others I'm probably forgetting. But yeah, it's that's essentially it. And in terms of the short film project, which I'll just quickly go down, it's basically a short film that I'm be developing that is loosely based on a personal thing because it's as you write as a creator you write what you know, so it's loosely based on a character that feels they don't feel like they're at home in terms of my personal experience, like I just don't feel like this country, my home country, is home anymore. I feel like I belong somewhere else. That's just me personally, but then sometimes
I'm gonna watch this.
So
I'm gonna be the first person to watch this because I feel like I can relate to this so much.
It's like a version of Imposter Syndrome for home, basically. That's the way that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, I don't feel English at all. I feel anything but being English, even though I am born in England and raised in England and sound like it.
You feel like you disassociate from this country and more of a global
citizen. It's just like certain things, like it's like I don't give a shit about football, I don't give a shit about the monarchy, like I just don't care. Like, you know, I mean, obviously I do care to the point where I want the best out of the country, that the people just don't get fucked over and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, we can all agree on that.
But I still feel like in some situations I feel so out of place, and you know, and I've been so vastly inspired by so many dramas like that are so just hit really hard. You know, well, I mean, the films that I talk about that I'm going to be influenced by, they deals with other themes, but it's more like the tone that is what I'm more inspired by. So, you know, the two films that come to mind is Manchester by the Sea with Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams. That's available on Amazon Prime because it's an Amazon co-production, I think. And then the other one is Past Lives, which is on Netflix. And that recently, talking about the Oscars recently, that got nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Best Picture. It is so well done. It's actually one of the few films that actually legit made me cry. And if anyone knows about living in another country or visiting somebody from another country, will totally understand what the characters are going through. And so yeah, that's basically what I'm going through. Like, I'm trying to think about putting a certain angle to it. Like, you know, maybe a character in the military service comes back to a country and they just don't feel they belong. So that's at the moment I'm developing. I still yet to write a script, but it's just an idea that is becoming more and more clear each day. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So
that's really good to hear, man. Really pleased on all that.
Good. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
And, you know, to be able to actually come up with, you know, a script to a film, that's a massive thing because it takes hours, I suppose, doesn't it?
It's fucking hard. It really is.
Yeah.
Like, just taking a
mental
blank
process.
Just take a blank page and just put something into it to have like a beginning to an end.
I picture sitting in front of a window, just looking out to the view and hoping that some inspiration comes your way to start typing.
It's just, you know, it's much harder with a short film because you still need to construct a somewhat 3-act structure, but not necessarily a 3-act structure. You still need to have like a beginning and an end to something to make your point of the themes that you want to put across. And that writing the script for me is the hardest thing. Anything beyond that, producing and directing, that to me is like, I don't want to say easy, but it's like it's more satisfying to do. Yeah, it's much more satisfying because you're seeing it being, you know, fully realized as it is.
Yes, I feel like one thing that actually affects this feeling as well is the knowledge and the fact that you've spent so many hours writing that script and seeing that come into life is, you know, very satisfying.
I think it's a very euphoric experience.
Into it. Yeah.
I think it's a very euphoric experience knowing that everything that you're doing is going into something, and then when you get people interact with that stuff, like, and see that content, they're like, okay. You're like, whoa. It's like an out-of-body experience, isn't it? Like, your work's being appreciated by other people, and that really builds you up.
I hope it hits the people that can relate to it, because the thing that would really make my heart sink if there's people who just watch it and just don't have an effect on it. That's
they don't consume it they don't consume it and the message.
Well, it's just like they just don't get any reaction to it whatsoever. Like, I wouldn't mind, you know, constructive criticism or anything like that, but if it's just somebody who should relate to it, but they just go, I didn't feel anything, it's just like, that would hurt more.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Cinema's content in general, like videos that we watch, TV shows and movies, with all their premise and everything like that, they touch you on a very personal level. Like, you might watch a TV show, like, you might even just watch like a casual TV show. I wouldn't say casual, but a weekly drama show like Casualty in the UK, where you just see someone lose somebody, and just like, it makes you think of someone you might have lost. It's like all those things kind of build you up, and then when you go to make your own, like yourself, Owen, like, you build upon then other people will build themselves around it, they'll huddle around it and elevate it. That's why short films are really important, because they're like the starting block for much bigger productions, because there's so many things that come from short films. In the same way that books become TV shows and movies franchises that are bigger than they could have ever expected, everything starts from somewhere. The seed is planted and then it goes from there. It leapfrogs itself in development. So, take it from you.
Netflix has a category for short films.
That's it.
So, but obviously you need like a lot of backing to get on that. But
yeah, there's hurdles. There's always gonna be hurdles. Yeah.
But so no, go ahead.
Speaking of development, Josh has something exciting to share as well. Show. Well, you won't be able to see it, but you will be able to hear about it.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about because
it's an interesting development in the industry, isn't it? So I'm going to get out just for reference for me and, for us on the cam. No. But I'm talking about this one controller. I mean, there's been loads of others like it, but if you've never really been into gaming, this might come as a bit of a difference to you. But if you're very much into the gaming industry and just casual mobile gaming, then that's probably most people. The Backbone one, this is the PlayStation so I've actually got. I'm currently holding in my hand. They're nice clicky buttons and movie everything. That's the closest you're going to get to know what I'm holding. But the thing that's really great about it is the thing I've gone with, and I think a lot of other gamers are the same, and just even casual gamers, because everyone's at least owned something like a DS from Nintendo or a Game Boy Advance Color. It's touched you in a way that, when you're young, you're having something to keep you busy, something to take you into another world in the same way that TV and movies does. And the Delta emulator, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, recently has just become available on the App Store because of changing in the way that governments basically say Apple's got to do this, that, and the other. So emulators, specifically gaming, are now on the App Store in the UK and globally, and that has enabled a very big change in the way the industry is working, which allows you to have stuff like the Backbone become more popular, because you can play in this emulator Delta. You can play DS games, you can play Game Boy Advance, you can play Game Boy Color, you can play Nintendo 64 and Nintendo Entertainment System, so NES, and Super NES as well. Actually, if I'm recalling it right, it's so much potential in that when you involve a controller, because you're basically putting your phone in between, effectively a full-size controller being stretched out. That's the stretch motion just there alone, and it's just the name's great, by the way. I have to say that Backbone, it speaks for the fact that this is the backbone of your phone, allowing you to do more. It's giving you more of a backbone, as we would talk, backbone on the back of your spine as humans. So I love the name. I think that's very creative. I mean, it's been around for a while. Backbone as a company, I think they've been around for about nearly 4 or 5 years. They've been going for a little while, but the mobile scene has been really peaking this over just playing, generally speaking, on your phone. But now that Delta emulator has come out, with all the potential of that, people are buying. I think the Backbone is it's starting to sell out in places really quickly, and other controllers like it. That the whole mobile gaming industry is picking up a note because of emulation. Obviously, you're probably thinking, yeah, Nintendo probably don't like it, but at the same time, Nintendo can do fuck all about it, because Delta emulator has been a thing even before it was legally on the App Store. Well, legally in Apple's sense anyway. When they're getting their hand forced, with the USB-C thing with the European Union, that's made iPhone so much better as a product. Yeah, Android users, suck on it. I don't care if you've had USB-C for years. We've got it now. We can all be, loving and everything technology. I think
we just get along.
It's taken ages.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer myself, but when you showed me that at the beginning of the episode, I was
you were so excited by it.
This is actually
your eyes lit up.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm excited because Sebastian, my best friend, is a gamer, so it's actually good to kind of
familiarize yourself
about things like this, because I can.
How many more brownie points can I give him?
The thing is, you can enjoy those moments of going through him, because you might be more of a watcher than an actual player in games, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd love to probably watch a
definitely.
game like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, but not in the perspective of the gamer. There's actually a YouTube channel just for that, actually, called Girlfriend Reviews. You may have heard of it before.
Yeah.
So the girlfriend basically is like, she just play the games as well sometimes, but like she reviews it from the perspective of her watching it with her boyfriend and how her boyfriend reacts to it and enjoys it. Like they've done Animal Crossing, done some really big games like
These are big games like The Last of
Us,
God of War, Dead Space. You know, just basically everything really.
What's that?
That's a cool way of actually leaving a review game, you know, from a different perspective.
I think you will with that YouTube channel. You'd love it.
Yeah.
Because like the way she goes, I'm not reviewing this, but I'm reviewing this from the perspective of someone who plays it and I live with.
Yeah,
and
this is not a review of somebody playing the game. This is a review of somebody watching somebody play the game. Yeah.
Basically, like living. What's the word? Living in third person to the person playing the game. I guess if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're passively playing it with them in a sort of way because you're viewing it. And I actually think there's a lot of merit to that because, like, very very brief history lesson. One of my best friends that I've known since we were literally in year 3 in school. Basically, we'd always go home, before I go home, I'd go to his. We'd play GameCube, Nintendo 64. We'd play games together. Like, I would play some of them with him, and then I would play some, and he would watch. You know, we lived vicariously through, that's the word I'm looking for, vicariously through the other person. And, like, whenever I think of those moments, like, and I look at them now, like, I have an Xbox Series S. I don't play it as often as I'd like to because I'm less of a gamer than I used to be. But then I've got the iPhone, I've got the backbone. I can really like touch base with my gamer heart back again. And like as developments go, yes, this controller is not a new thing on the market, but it's getting its comeuppance. Like during the pandemic, the Among Us game had only come out like a year or so before the pandemic, and that game, like, even you know what Among Us is, don't you? Because like it was
I played it.
Yeah, exactly, there you go. It's part of the mainstream meta.
Hey,
like,
I participated in something.
Yay, I know what you're talking about.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like that game, like, was such a big part of culture globally, and the game did so well, and it's doing so well now.
Because you, Josh, and we did a group thing where it was quite cool because we did it on Zoom. So when we did a rule where whenever we played the game, we put it on mute, and then when somebody found a body or pressed the emergency button, we put the sound on, and then we'll do the elimination, saying who we think is the imposter. Yeah.
It's such a good game because it really puts everybody on their tiptoes. Like, it's a game that feels like it's a board game but online in a sort of.
It was really frustrating for me. Well, for someone like me, because I had to play it on my iPhone, but then I had to have the Zoom on my. At the time, I think it was my iMac, or it was my iMac. And now they released it on the PlayStation, so that would have made it so much more convenient. But I was a little bit annoyed, so. Whatever.
Hey, I'll tell you something. I played I played a little bit of Among Us, like with some randomers, just like for 5 seconds to see how it was with the backbone. And I was like, oh, this feels good. Yeah, my iPhone feels like it actually has like some good merit now. Like, I feel like everything can be an extension of that one device that you have. Like, and the iPhone might be the only gaming device that most people have in their pockets nowadays. Like, in the same vein that like the best camera you own will be your phone most of the time. Like, being ready to make content or be ready to play content, like, is like, that is crucial in some countries. Like, not to go too much into a tangent, because I know I'm very bad at doing that. Places like India, Pakistan, and a lot of other places in the Middle East grew up on mobile phone technology being their main source of everything. Like, it's the reason why mobile phone networks are more faster developed out there, and there's also more range of pricing on phones. And like, all those phones that are out there, they're all playing mobile games. They're all playing like versions of League of Legends. I think there's one called Rift on the iPhone you can play. There's like you can play RuneScape on there as well, like, which is an old game that people have played for generations, like 20 years ago nearly now, I think. It blows my mind.
Played it, but...
And then like you got games that are like really like still popular now, like Candy Crush. I mean, I don't like the fucking game, but Candy Crush is big, and it's the reason why Microsoft decided to buy out the company that owns them.
Yeah, I think my mum plays it. I see her playing something, and it looks like Candy Crush. It might be Candy Crush.
My mum plays a game called June's Journey, and she has like friends from other countries that she's playing with, and legitimately, like, it's one of those games where you literally build out like your own house and garden and stuff, and then you go off and find items in a room that you can't that like a sort of sleuthy kind of like, oh, you got to find the items.
Well, do you remember the craze like everyone's playing?
What's that? Sorry.
Pokemon.
Oh, Go lasted 5 minutes with me, like, because of my phone
So
constantly
you
being
kind of was
uttered.
like, oh, Pokemon Go can suck a dick. That's so.
Go suck a dick, suck a dick, suck a dick. You can suck a dick.
No, we had a colleague that we had to ban him from playing the game while he was working because he was literally going, "Oh my god, there's a Pokemon right outside the work," and we're like, "Dude, you're supposed to be okay." All right.
Oh yeah, it's funny that is. There was so many instances of people
I
like going
feel
onto
like
public
that was-
land and getting killed nearly by people like trespassing. I was like, what? You're going to get
That was
Pokemon on
getting-
this
Yeah,
person's
I
land?
remember.
Oh,
Yeah, I
That's
remember
mad.
people like were either getting arrested because of their trespassing
Yeah.
or this and that, or
The
I think
game
one-
overruns their brain.
It was like one
People went
person like
proper
they kept
mad.
hitting a black person like gonk, that whatever. So I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like I get it, like it's a game, but you know,
calm down.
The way I see
know.
it, like, the best way to sort of sum up this section at the minute is that I go onto the App Store right now, and yes, Delta Emulator was at the top of the App Store for at least nearly 2 weeks. It is now, unfortunately, back down the list. It's at 5th place right now on the 5th App Store with Temu, Microsoft Authenticator. That kind of makes sense because people use Microsoft accounts around the UK. Vinted, always in the top charts. HMRC, I mean, it's tax season. That literally was at the start of this month. And then the emulator, right 5th, right next to
Wow.
Fred's. You know, my favourite place other than X or Twitter, whatever. But that's a whole other thing. But it tells you that, like, the fact it's in the top 10 still, or even the top 5, like, tells you that it's really popular. I think it's still like 1 or 2 or 3 place wise in America because everyone just loves the emulators. Like Japan as well. I read an article. Japan's got just shy of 100k people downloading it in Nintendo's own backyard. You know. It's mad. It tells you, like, the industry, like, where people are. Like, there was a big amount of people in India getting the game. I think about 800k downloaded it in India, about 900k in America. Mexico had like about 250,000. That was pretty mad. UK about 110 to 125,000, I think. So, like, that speaks volume.
well,
So-
it was like it's like going slightly off subject, but it was kind of like when at the time when World of Warcraft was when it initially came out, the majority of players were South Koreans.
Yeah, the Koreans and, like, a lot of the Japanese market as well. Like, basically, a lot of the Australasia area are just, like, big on mobile gaming and big on, like, online, like, massive multiplayer games, MMOs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They're
well,
like
I can't get my head
Fortnite.
around them.
It's just crazy. But then again, I haven't played. I mean, I don't really play online gaming that much. The only time I did play online gaming was, you know, Among Us, or, you know, when Tyler and I would play, you know, like the occasional game like with The Forest, or you know,
No Way Out was good. I enjoyed No Way Out.
No Way Out, Battlefield 4 or whatever it was, and then a couple shooters. But you know, but that's about it. Like, I would only play it with friends rather than going online by myself, because I just think the whole thing is just toxic and whatnot. So
Speaking of toxicity, mental health next month, mental health
Yes.
month, and the one big thing
Mental
that
health.
that I absolutely hate about mental health is how people treat it in such a toxic subject. That was probably the best cutaway for me
This
for
is
that.
a bit of a segue there, but
Big segue, that's it.
No, but no, there is still unfortunately a stigma behind, you know, with mental health, and
I think we
the
could flip it
problem
on
is-
its head there and say that there'll always be a stigma, I think, with mental health. It's how we choose to move forward as nations. Like, obviously, as a global sense, it's the same in the same sense as that world hunger won't end anytime soon. It's the same situation with that, I think. Like, because of everything going on in the world, there's so many pressure points. If you would say,
yeah,
like,
I mean, I mean, the fact is that obviously there's loads of factors that is affecting it. Like, obviously, the biggest thing is I mean, technically we're still in the pandemic, but obviously dealing with the initial pandemic when it started in early 2020.
We're back in a recession again.
We're recovering from that. We're dealing with a cost of living crisis. We're dealing with recession. We're dealing with 2 wars going on. The invasion of Ukraine and then the genocide in Gaza right now. We're getting talks about China trying to help with Russia at some point. Like, it's basically literally saying that I would not be surprised if by any point that World War III will start anytime soon at this rate. And it's such a shitty thing to think about. And also the fact that people such as basically 20-year-olds like yourselves, or even 30-year-olds like myself, we want to I mean, I could only speak for myself because I still live with family. I can't live out because obviously everything is so fucking expensive. Trying to get a mortgage would be the most ideal thing because it will be cheaper than renting, but because of my credit history or whatever it is, or I can't put a down payment, therefore I can't get a mortgage, which doesn't make that whole logic doesn't make any sense.
You're going in circles essentially with that, yeah.
And that really affects it. So there's so many things, and then all the boomers are complaining that we're being lazy. It's like, we're not being lazy. It's just Can
I speak on that? Honestly, I think, like, generally speaking, the reason why we call like older adults, like, elderly, I guess, sort of ranging in like 40s, 50s upwards, we call them boomers because they treat us like we're like so much less than them. And I think in the UK, there's stigmas. I think the stigma's the worst in the UK because the way that British kind of like set themselves up is like, if you didn't survive a war, if you didn't survive a cost of living crisis, I mean, we are currently going through one of them, so fuck off, boomers. But there's so many things like, I went through the Blitz. You don't know what living was like, mate. I can hardly afford to buy a car or afford to move out. A war, fuck off. I don't give a shit about a war. That is my war.
I would rather not live through a war, but
yeah. I mean, we're passively living through wars that are near us at the minute. Well, not completely near us, but near us enough that we can feel them.
I mean, even though it's afar, there's a potential that it could come to our shores.
Yeah. It's the repercussions. Like, that's the thing with war, isn't it? Like, to cut it short, nice and short and sweet. Well, not really that nice, but wars always affect everything around them. Like, war is like a big nuke going off, and like them, or like an earthquake. You got the shimmers, everything going out, like everything going on in Russia and Ukraine. With like stuff like sunflower oil or sunflower seeds. They're heavily affected right now because that's where we used to get them from. I say used to because we can't get them from there now because Russia don't let Ukraine have access to that stuff because they're totally taking over that stuff. Back to less political stuff. The biggest issue, I think, that people growing up our ages, because we're in that sort of, even now with Owen as well, like, you're under 40. Between 20 and 40 is probably the worst time right now to be able to do anything in life. Like, yeah, there are people that will succeed and other people that won't. That's the way that human life has always been, not to get too philosophical. I just think that the massive amount of mental health problems come from the fact that people push people down and not push people up. Yeah. And funding of these services and funding the stigma behind everything. Like, you can't go and be gay or lesbian without being told you this, that, and the other, and by bigots, and you can't.
Well, they have to shove it in our faces and all that bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. You can't transition to be transgender without being told that you're the cause of problems in the UK when you're less than 1% of the population.
Yeah, they're constantly vilified. Yeah. I mean, you got people like the Conservatives like attacking transgenders and J.K. Rowling, which is a big cunt. Anyways, and the fact that trans hate crimes keep going up every year, and the fact that one got killed and one got stabbed critically, and mental health effects in all demographics.
And the thing is, you look at like the lowest level of mental health when you're growing up is bullies. Basically, like, let's be honest here, 99% of bullies bully other people because they've got their own problems, which is their own mental health, and then bullying other people is a compounding effect. It's a rolling boulder that never stops because we try and tackle the problem and it never stops.
It's kind of like a defense mechanism. They do it to protect themselves,
like a band-aid.
Feel better, which definitely is not fair. That's why, in my opinion, everyone should go through therapy in their lifetime, at least once. That's just my opinion, but I feel like we live in a world where, it's so easy to get traumatized, which then affects us on a daily basis going forward. We then pass those traumas over to our children. Those children pass it to their children.
It's hereditary.
So, yeah, I feel like definitely every single person should go through a therapy. And I've known people that had, I don't want to, name anyone, but I've known people that had a problem. I genuinely wanted to help them and I tried to convince them to go to therapy so much, but I feel like when person has the problems kind of
drowning them,
and they're so kind of they're in that paradigm that it's difficult for them to even understand that they may have a problem. So sometimes
they feel like they're in a sense of denial, that they don't want to admit that they're struggling or whatever.
Exactly.
Because I used to be that way, like quite a few years ago. I didn't want to admit that I was depressed. I was like, I'm just upset. I'll get over it or whatever.
Yeah. It's because of history, isn't it, though, right? History tells us that we can't be upset, we can't be this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, I have a senior team leader at work who I've heard right in front of me when she was talking to somebody else. It just goes to show that, the older generation just do not understand.
Yeah.
They're senile. They're bent in their ways. They don't see it as a problem to
them. Minus my mum, that she's more progressive than most, people. And my mum's like in her 70s, and it's just the fact that you still get people that they say things like, "Well, back in my day," and as soon as I hear that, I go, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Yeah. You just want to smack your head, like.
And then they go that back in my day, like, we just grit our teeth and get on with it. And then they go, well, nowadays when somebody says they're depressed or upset, they go, oh, well, I think I've got that as well. And it just goes, and then I'm like, well, isn't that a good thing? They're becoming more aware to think like, oh, maybe I do have that. Maybe that, and unfortunately, you're gonna get people, like another colleague who just pissed me off with one or two things, that she's the kind of person that they would go, well, yeah, but then you get these people that just pretend or fake that they got depression or this. I'm like, okay, but you're thinking about the absolute small percentage of people who do that compared to the majority of people who are actually genuinely suffering.
You're letting yourself be blindsided.
Just stop focusing on the smaller problem and think and focus on the bigger problem, that people are actually genuinely suffering. You're not supporting anything by focusing on that, you fucking. Sorry,
that's the thing. No,
it really pisses me off. So
I generally think that mental health, like a good analogy, I think in my mind. Tell me if I'm wrong here. That we all treat mental health like it's a bully, like it's like, oh, we can't think about it because it's constantly coming at us. But maybe if we reason with it, maybe it isn't actually a bully, and maybe it's actually just reason, like that, like you're taking in too many outside external inputs to your life that shouldn't matter, but they do matter because you put too much into them, right?
Well, it's just like, with the mental health, that it also extends to having anxiety and you know, just other things, and
like not
you
being
know,
able to not being able to like being dyslexic, like that can cause so much mental health problems for people that when they don't know where to get that support. Like just getting like a certificate to say that you are that you're dyslexic is hard enough in this country. Like, and most of the time you have to go private and pay for it. Most colleges will just go, we slightly recognise it, but legally we can't. And you're just like, they're like, what the fuck do I do then? Like,
well,
it makes life hard.
it's like, I think it's, you know, for me, it's just, it's really difficult because, you know, I also have anxiety. It doesn't matter. I don't know if it's ever noticeable or not, but you know, I do get points or moments where I don't think I deserve the friends that I have because I just feel like various other reasons, or I feel like I'm not as talented as I think I am, and all these other bits and pieces, and it's all, you know, comes into, you know, with having like just mental health, that it doesn't matter how big or small the issue is, or it doesn't matter how, you know, whatever you think doesn't equal with the evidence that shows that it you know what I mean. It's just like it doesn't match up to what what you're thinking is what is actually in reality. And
do you think your anxiety is linked to your progress? Do you think like if you don't see progress happen quick enough, you start to echo those thoughts in your head and it gets you more anxious?
Think what really gets me is that I feel like I have a problem with, like, whenever I start something, I feel like a lot more pressure because I feel like I have to finish it, and if I don't finish it, then I feel like an absolute failure.
I know where you're coming from.
And it doesn't matter if it's like it was genuinely something that it was against it was beyond my control.
Yeah.
I would still feel like I didn't try hard enough. Even
you feel like you had a part in that failure.
Even though you have.
Yeah.
I think we're programmed to feel failure more than success. Honestly, like because of how the way the world is wired, we like it's the news. Like you see depression rather than you see actual success. Like you hear about someone getting killed, you hear about someone going to jail. You like, but then when you hear about like a child's life being changed, like because they've had cancer and they're now free of cancer, and like they're like doing great things in the world, and like they maybe become a big movie star or become a musician, and you're just like, that's the stuff I want to see. That brings my mental health up. That makes, as people will say as well, my well-being feel more revitalized.
The thing I would say is obviously when I was, you know, stop making me sound old, but when I was growing up, you know, we didn't really have like, you know, smartphones or social media.
Yeah.
We just have TVs or the newspapers and whatnot. But because we got all this information, it's actually more of a sensory overload. We're not supposed to really, you know, consume this much content or news. And so it's like the more we see like what is going on between Israel and Palestine and Russia, Ukraine, or you know what's going on in this country or in America, this and that, we're all getting all this from it, and we're just like, holy shit! Like, you know, it just be too easy to go, this world is turning to shit, and
it's too easy to attribute to that and forget the fact that like you're one person out of many, and there's so many other problems that you don't need to be worried about necessarily, but you do worry about them because it's human nature to do so.
And that is why they say to try stop scrolling, because it's not just anything to do with being laziness or anything like that. It's just because like you're only programmed to consume so much information.
You need to unplug.
Yeah, this is why I tend to not watch TV at all, especially news.
Yeah.
And I'm really limiting myself to kind of, you know, going through news on my phone as well, because I just don't want this negative energy. And to be honest with you, since I've like stopped doing that, I find I live a happier life. As bad as it sounds, because I know there are awful things happening in the world at the moment. I don't want to sound like an ignorant. However, for the sake of my own mental health, I'd rather not know certain things because I don't want to kind of bring myself down.
And that's completely valid, like, because you're focusing on what you need to do to make your life better.
I think that's why we shouldn't consume news every day, every hour, every minute, because and that's like you said about sensory overload. Knowing about some, like, let's say for example, like someone dying, like a celebrity or someone else, like, yeah, that's like big news, but then like how big is it really? Like, that person died, yeah, that's important. But then when you look at like you zoom in on your own and you're like, well, what happens if like your nan dies or your mom dies or your dad dies? Like, you know, those are bigger impacts. Like, you should focus on those things more.
Yeah, what even with that, like, say, like, if you didn't go scrolling for the news and didn't find out about that, would you ever be affected by it? Yeah. And that sounds cruel, but
exactly.
You know, you don't know the person, and it's not to say it's not tragic. It is tragic, but you know, does it? You know, would it mean anything to you, or would it affect you in any way? And the answer will be no, not really.
One thing that I do want to say is my grandmother, she's in her 70s. She spends a lot of time watching TV, and I completely understand because, you know, she is on retirement, so she's got a lot of time spare. But I can see how scared she is all the time. She, like, media and news have created so much fear. Fear equals anxiety and stress, right? Whenever I travel anywhere, or, you know, I go out anywhere or anything like that, she's like, oh my god, no, you know, watch out for yourself. Are you sure you want to go there on your own? Are you sure you want to go there, etc.? And I'm like, grandmother, calm down.
I need to live. Yeah,
I need to live. I can't lock myself in a house because that's my safe place and be scared my whole life that I'm gonna, you know, go outside and someone is gonna stab me. Like,
it's like the London attacks. Do you remember those London attacks a few years ago? But like my friend James, another friend James, his mom was like, I don't think you should go to London, like, in a few weeks. And he was like, at first he was like, okay, I agree with you, mom, blah blah blah, because, like, you know, your mom, you do what you do best to try and listen to their advice, but then also you should also look on how you feel about it. You're like, okay, what's the likelihood that I'm going to be in a terrorist attack? Like, I'm more likely to trip on the curb and break my nose or get run over by a car, right? A terrorist attack is the least number potential, like, you know, or a plane coming down with you in it. Like, those things are very rare still. Even in the high numbers, they're very rare. So you should look at the fact that, like, you can't isolate danger from you all the time. Like, you might trip down the stairs. Exactly. How are you gonna avoid that? Like, yeah, you can avoid not wearing shoes that will make you trip down.
Or even when you do fun things, like when you go bungee jumping or skydiving or go on a roller coaster.
There's always a risk
they could go wrong, and you either get severely injured or you end up dead.
You can't go round in bubble wrap, basically.
So
anything can happen, you know, anything can happen, and locking yourself up in a house and not living your life to the fullest to protect yourself,
that hurts your mental health.
Like a good option. Exactly. So,
and you know,
I think you make your life worse for yourself when you don't when you isolate yourself. Like, there's no greater privilege in your life than being able to get out your house and travel. Like, I always tell people, traveling has to be part of your life at least once or twice a month at minimum, because you go and you touch base with a different place. Like, you're not in your familiar landscape. Like, I like getting lost and then using Google Maps to find my way back. Like, sometimes switching off from stuff that will help you to somewhere, like, just you don't know what's going on apart from just walking this way or that way. I think that's, like, what really excites me in life. Like, being able to just find, like, you know, when you, like, find, like, a random thing that you see, like, this tree looks really pretty, I like to take a photo of it, or this new pub that I've never been to before, like, looks really pretty inside. Like, even like down to like textures on like buildings and stuff like that. Like, people find niches in these things, and I think that's why I always say, when it comes to your mental health, try and find different niches so that you don't focus on the things that you know will make you feel negative, because we're all accountable for making ourselves negative without realizing it. Like, the beast that is the news cycle, everything going on in the world, you can suppress that. Like, I know it's not an easy thing to do, but you can do it if you put your mind to it.
On a positive note, we live in a world now where everything is so easily accessible.
Agreed.
So I've given my grandmother a really good book by Bob Proctor, which is called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life.
Ooh.
She read that book and she was like, wow, like, I'm just so like shocked and impressed that such things are now like accessible to people, because back in her days there was no mention of that whatsoever. But now you can literally go on YouTube, you can even Google ways to manage stress, ways to manage anxiety, and there are so many resources which you can put into use. So I feel like, well, yes, there is still a lot of people that suffer with mental health. However, on a positive note, we are going into direction, the world is going into direction where hopefully, fingers crossed, those numbers will start to go down with the help that we have now available and resources that we have available.
It's always steps. We're always moving forward. Like, obviously, we move backward on quite a lot of things in life, but if there's one thing that the internet has done very much for us, it is allowed us to broaden our horizons. Like, I think a good example was just knowing that on Google Maps I could see where I'd been. Like, yeah, privacy. Everyone hates a bit of privacy, like Google doing this and the other. I liked it knowing that I went past this place, or I went to this location, and Google will go, next time you go there, maybe check out this place or check out that place. And I can go and look at this. I think there are benefits.
Don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do.
There are benefits to products. There are benefits to products being free, and yes, you are the product in that instance, and they're marketing stuff to you. But I think when that's the situation, stuff like Google Maps is like amazing for like allowing you to do that. Like, I can plan out a photography shoot using Google Maps now, and then Pinterest, I can bring that in and bring like organization, and I can actually visualize things better now because of these services. So that's the big benefit of the internet. And like, going off of what you just said, YouTube, you could know how to sort out something on a bike. Like, the most basic thing when you're growing up, a bike in the house. You used to struggle with that shit. Your dad might know it, your mom might know, your granddad might be able to help you out. You ain't got no YouTube.
I think the dad would just probably look at it and go,
Yeah, you just fucked on that one, mate.
But I think with nowadays is that with more awareness with social media and everything else, is that hopefully I mean, we've still got quite a long way, because there are still people who do not know how to approach people with depression, and I've dealt with that, and unfortunately it has led me to kind of snap at them. Just to kind of give them a blunt, honest reaction, I basically said to them, like, you don't have a fucking clue to how to deal with people with depression. And I couldn't help it, because it was, I'm sorry that I did say to them, I'm really sorry, I snapped at you, like, it wasn't fair, like, because you were trying to help. And I said to them, but unfortunately, you really need to learn how to approach people with depression, especially with certain words, because
I think everyone should treat every situation with innocence.
It's a very sensitive thing. It's literally tripping on eggshells. And but hopefully for me, when I see somebody who I can tell that they're really struggling, instead of saying, I test them saying, did you want to talk about it? And they just go, they either say no or whatever, and if they say no, I just go, okay, that's fine, and I just say to them, just to let you know, my door's always open if you want to talk. And
I want to say that. Yeah, I wanted to say that as well.
And at least that way they know who they can go to if they want to talk at their own time. Because that's the thing, you cannot force healthy to talk about your issues rather than suffer silence. But
I think that's an important point to make.
So.
And I think something that I think in the conclusion of this episode, I think for everyone listening at home, it us as well, always check in on your friends and always check in on your family members, like the close people to you. Like, even if you like, you don't have to have a reason to message them. You can just go, "Hey mate, how you doing?"
That's it. Just to, like,
don't creep around it. Because the thing is, like, the one thing that I love a lot about me and Owen as friends is that we don't have like long conversations that often. We have broken conversations, which sounds bad, but it's actually not bad because we'll post things on each other's pages and we'll go, "Oh, I want to talk to them about that. Like, you've helped me start a conversation," or just checking in general. Like, treading on eggshells is such a big thing, yes, with mental health, but it can be so much easier when you think of other people. Because if you can think of yourself, then you can think of other people. Obviously, you're number one. You should be number one in your life. Like, if you're having problems and other people are having problems, you need to sort yourself before you sort someone else out. Because you can't give advice to somebody else on how to sort themselves out if you already fucked yourself, you know. You can't make yourself any better by fucking yourself, by fucking someone else off, essentially. That's a lot of fucks in one sentence, I know. But
I mean, the thing is that, obviously, if somebody with experience like myself has been through depression, the last thing you want to do is somebody else about to go through what you want to do, and you don't want to see that happening. And you want to help as much as you can to get to a point where it's just going to be able to be a road of recovery, of healing. So,
agreed.
That's essentially what we need to do. We just need to help each other and look out for each other. I mean, that's what we said during the pandemic in lockdown, because that was like, you know, cutting off from interaction with people in person. And we needed that support, and we still need that support to this day.
And that's where the internet really came into its own, I think. Like, there was so much going on in the world. There was a big influx of people buying laptops, obviously, and working from home, and like industries were like struggling to keep up with demand. But even then, when you zoom on it all, the internet brought people together playing Among Us. It brought people together on Zoom. Zoom was such a lifeline for people during the pandemic. Like, that company did so well out of the pandemic. Like, they don't want to probably admit it, but it's the truth. Like, businesses working through internet solutions. I think, as a whole, the pandemic taught the world that we can rely on doing things not the traditional way anymore. Because none of us here have ever done an episode of the podcast in person, other than that video one that we did, the drunk episode. We could have done that online, we did that last time, but it's the way that we choose to do something now. We can go, okay, we don't have to necessarily be in the same room to feel the same connection, which is brilliant, and it helps a lot. Like, being able to just go, "Owen, how you doing? Yulita, how you doing?" Or Yulita asking me how I'm doing. So that's the main I want that to, and I think we all agree on this. We want that to be like the thing to come out of this. Always think of other people, but also remember, think of yourself and how you are doing before you try and reflect on someone else as well.
It's just simply asking yourself and other people how you're doing, and just be honest with yourself.
It's a simple human thing to do, to just check in.
Yeah, this is why, like, it's really good to have months like Mental Health Awareness Month, because thinking about it is so crucial to get people to remember of little things like that. And
just knowing that when we're all not alone in these struggles.
Exactly.
And the thing is, if you put too much thought into the fact that like you're thinking you're a burden on somebody else, that's the problem. Because I know I've been accountable of it. Everyone can speak of one instance in their life where they've been accountable of it, and I think that would be a good episode to break down our own mental struggles in a way that's healthy. Maybe that's an episode, maybe that's just a conversation in general, people talking over social media. I mean, we all share stuff that we feel is important on social media, which is why also we should say, if you've never come across us before on the internet, this is your first time, please check us out on socials, because a lot of the stuff that we're doing here is pretty much posted over there and pushed out into the wider, scope. So I'm at Mr. Josh Deakin on pretty much everything on social media.
At Yulita DUNDA.
And I'm at Owen.Burkett.
Yeah.
I still struggle with that.
Yeah, that bit. Yeah, I do that as well sometimes. In the amount of episodes we've done with What Topic, oh my God. Yeah, just like mad. Like we're not even drunk when we do that. So
I never know whether I should spell it or just say it, but
it's one of those.
It is what it is.
But we would like to say thank you very much for joining us. We've run over more than we probably wanted to with this episode, but I'm happy with the result, honestly. But yeah, it's 11 o'clock now, so we're very much ready to chill for the rest of the evening. But we want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe on any platform you're on. Give us a rating, 5 stars. Let us know what we improve on or what things you liked. That will always help us to produce more episodes even on the What Topic podcast with me and Owen, or me and Juliet on 2 Crazy Podcast. And then when you do these episodes, where they're together, you can enjoy the madness and the insightful. But yeah, thanks guys for joining. Thanks to everyone who listens. And yeah, take care, stay safe out there, and enjoy life. Bye.
See you later.